Okay. So before moving to today's session, let me ask you a simple question. What if the key to solving two of the world's biggest problem, malnutrition and sustainable farming, was already growing in our fields for thousands of years? Yes. I'm talking about millets, often called the super grains of the future. These tiny grains are not only rich in nutrition but also climate resilient that require less water and grow even in challenging conditions. In a time when the world's searching for healthy food and sustainable agriculture, millets are becoming a powerful opportunity for young entrepreneurs, farmers and innovators. As Mahatma Gandhi ji said, to forget how to dig the earth and tend the soil is to forget ourselves. Millets remind us of our roots while also opening new doors for innovation, startups, food processing, and nutritional security. Jai Hind, everyone. On behalf of AgriSarthi, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to day 24 of the AgriSarthi training program. This 30-day national training program has been a remarkable platform where we explore innovative ideas, entrepreneurial opportunities, and transformative practical in agriculture. I'm Astha, and along with me, my co-host Rohit, we will be hosting today's session. It is a truly privilege for us to be a part of this wonderful learning experience with all of you. Before moving ahead, let us take a quick look at the highlights from yesterday's insightful session. Yesterday's lecture was on the topic Entrepreneurship Opportunities in Drone Agriculture, delivered by Mr. Mohan Prashant Answer. The session opened our eyes to how drone technology is transforming modern agriculture. We learned how drones are being used for crop monitoring, precision spraying, soil and field analyzing, reducing labor and increasing efficiency. Mr. Mohan Prashant sir also explained how drones are not just technological tools but amazing business opportunities for young entrepreneurs in the agriculture sector. The session reminds us that technology and agriculture together can shape the future of farming. As Bill Gates once said, innovation is moving at scarily fast pace and agriculture must keep it. We sincerely thanks yesterday's speaker for sharing such valuable insights with us. And today we move from technology in agriculture to nutrition and sustainable food system. Our today's topic is entrepreneurship opportunities in millets and food national security, nutritional security. In fact, millets are gaining global recognition from their high nutritional value, climate resilience, and economic potential from millet based snacks. And in fact, the growing awareness about healthy lifestyle has created a huge demand for millet based products, making it a promising sector for agripreneurship and startups. As the famous quote says, health is the greatest wealth, and food is the foundation of health. Millets truly stand at the intersection of health, sustainability, and entrepreneurship. It is now my pleasure to welcome our esteemed speaker for today's session. We are privileged to have Dr. Sitara Satyavati, Director of ICAR, Indian Institute of Millet Research, Hyderabad. Dr. Satyavati is a highly respected scientist and leader who has contributed significantly to research, innovation, and promotion of millets in India. Under her guidance, the Institute has played a vital role in strengthening millet research and promoting millet based entrepreneurship. Her work has been instrumental in bringing millets to the global stage, especially during the International Years of Millet 2023, which highlighted the importance of these nutritious grains. We are truly honored to have such eminent personality among us today. Welcome, ma'am. As Helen Keller beautifully said, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Today's session is another opportunity for all of us to learn, explore, and grow together. With great respect and gratitude, I warmly welcome Dr. C. Tara Satyavati ma'am to this session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. Now, without taking much of your time, I would like to invite our esteemed speaker, Dr. C. Tara Satyavati ma'am, to enlighten us with her insights on entrepreneurship opportunities in millets and food national nutritional security. Please, ma'am, the stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, ma'am. May I have the permission to share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
One second, madam. Mm. You're able to see me, madam? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Like we are unable to see your screen, but yeah, we can see you.
Let me. I don't know why it is happening. Mm. I am facing some issue from here. I'm sending it to you in WhatsApp. Please check it, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You received? You received it, na?
Not yet, ma'am. I actually have. I guess you have sent to the Ajay sir. I'll just take it from him.
Hmm.
Ma'am, just give me a few minutes. I'll share the
That's
people.
that's okay.
Ma'am, actually, the screen was shared right now from
I
your
think
side.
I closed it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so sorry for the delay. Just give me a few minutes. I'll just share the screen, ma'am.
Yeah, please. I don't know, suddenly system, there was some issue in my system.
Okay, ma'am. I'll just share it.
Hmm.
Ma'am, I hope it is visible. I request you to confirm once.
Yeah, it is now visible.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
So, good evening, everyone. Sorry for the technical delay. There were certain issues which we had to address. And thank you, team, for supporting and displaying my presentation. I'm audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Thank you. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. I think there is one more before it. No?
Ma'am,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah.
Yes. See, if you look into the present day situation, we have a number of issues that are bothering us. Like from the climate perspective, we can see changing climate, global warming, then water scarcity, malnutrition, and we all have witnessed recently COVID-19 pandemic. Along with this, we have one more burden, that is world population is increasing tremendously, and we are expected to cross 8 billion, maybe around 8.4 billions by 2030. And coupled with these, the climatic changes, they are creating a really scarcest picture in front of us. Next one, please. In situations, how to look into the nutritional security and food security. So if you see, you can see that across the globe, 637 million people go hungry worldwide, 2.3 billion face moderate to severe food insecurity, 3 billion cannot afford a healthy diet, climate shocks, conflict, economic slowdown, all these compound the risk put forth by each of these. So, in such a situation, what to do? Next. Next, please. If you look into the human life, and if you look what are those very important elements or nutrients that are essential to have a healthy life, it was derived that 51 essential nutrients are there to sustain a human life. We all know that air, water, energy are very, very important. Then we have proteins, fats, minerals, vitamins, which are essential. In proteins, we have a number of amino acids, but of them, only 9 are very, very important, like histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, all these things. And in fats, also, we have a number of fatty acids. We all know that we have unsaturated fatty acids or omega fatty acids, which are very, very important, like linolenic. And then macro minerals that are required in large quantity, like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, phosphorus, chlorine, and other elements which are required in small quantities, minute quantities, but are very, very essential, like iron, zinc, iodine, copper, manganese, all these things. And then there are 13 vitamins which are very, very important. And if you see any of the deficiency of any of these is going to affect and impact that particular stage. In the human life cycle, if you see, none of the stage is not influenced by these things. Each and every stage is influenced by the deficiency of these nutrients. Whether you start from newborns or children or adolescents or pregnant ladies or adults or the senior citizens. Deficiency in any of these is going to affect, and especially when we say hidden hunger, it is with respect to the iron and zinc. So there is very, it is very essential that we take good balanced diet which would be providing all these 51 essential nutrients. Next one.
Ma'am, can I give you the slide control actually?
That would be better.
Yes, ma'am. I am just giving it now.
It's not moving, no? You are moving from your side.
Ma'am, actually, I'm searching your name. Okay, ma'am. Till then, I'll be sharing and I'll do it parallelly. We'll search and I'll just do
Okay
it then.
then.
Yes.
So if we are not having a good balanced diet and the nutrients are not available in sufficient required quantities, it is definitely leading to undernutrition. And the consequences are it is manifested in terms of micronutrient deficiency or stunting or wasting or suboptimal breastfeeding in case of the nursing mothers, small for gestational age, all these things will be there. And then the consequences that you can see is under 5 and maternal deaths, impaired physical and cognitive development, decreased economic productivity, compromised adult health, and high risk of intergenerational perpetuation. Next one, please. So if you see in our country at this particular time period, we find two different kinds of children. One are very obese and the other one is very thin, stunted waisted. This is the existing situation as of now. In most of the cases, you can see this kind of division in both. On one extreme, children are becoming obese because they are lacking physical activity, and then depending on high amount of processed food, snacks, and all these things. And on the other hand, you find children who are not getting good quality food. Next one. Next one, madam. So, if you see childhood obesity, and it is estimated that 1 in every 10 children is going to be obese, and they are going to come from our own country. So, overweight and obesity rates are increasing not just among the higher social economic groups but also in the lower income groups where underweight still remains a major concern. And this data is very disturbing, and we see that most of the children, whether it is very highly stinking rich people or uh, high income group or middle income group, these children are depending and more consuming the processed foods, which is resulting in obesity, and their diets are not balanced because they are focusing only on carbohydrates. Next one. And if you have a look at the status of non-communicable diseases, the cardiovascular diseases are going to take a big chunk, followed by other diseases. And if you see, we have become the diabetes capital. Every household nowadays, you find one or two people who are diagnosed with diabetes or BP or heart risk, everything, or some arthritis. All this is because we are consuming imbalanced diet. So there is a need, apart from the changing climatic condition, looking into the existing uh, profile of the people, that there is a need that we need to change our food system. Now, the climate is changing, the temperatures are increasing, the water is reducing, then incidence of non-communicable diseases is increasing. Then what is to be blamed? Do we need to blame the nature? Or do we need to blame our farmer? Or do we need to blame our own selves? Who is eating? The farmer is producing food. Nature is changing, and we need to adjust and we need to get adapted to the changing climatic conditions. So, with the changing conditions in the climate, how it is going to impact the food system? It is with the climate uncertainties, it is affecting the food systems around the world, because you can see enhanced biotic and abiotic stresses, increased frequency of drought, increase in the mean sea level rise. You can see the rise in the mean sea level. Here, weather hazards, sudden downpour, heavy downpour, high temperatures for pretty long time, and then temperature rise, annual mean temperature is rise. So with these things, it is definitely going to impact the food systems. Next one, please. It was, some studies were made and it was observed and it was reported that the climate impact of the climate change on Indian agriculture, it is going to impact wheat production by 9%. It is going to reduce wheat by 9%, rice by 12%, reduce maize by 18%, kharif maize, and chickpea is going to increase by 8%, soybean is going to increase by 1%. And milk yield in cattle is going to reduce. The total milk yield loss in cattle is going to be 1.8 million ton per year. Extensive losses in horticulture crops due to extreme events, hailstorms, etc. Then pest and disease incidence is going to increase. Next one. And in such situation, with the changing climatic conditions, reducing water uh, table and all these things, and increasing climate risk, one thing we can think of is millets. Why? Because millets need less amount of water. The water requirement, if you see, for production of 1 kg of rice, you need 1250 liters. For sugarcane, it is 2100. Whereas millets like sorghum, pearl millet, finger millet, they need only 350 to 400 liters per kg of dry matter there here. And if you see on the lower side, the greenhouse gas emissions by different cultivated crops, you can see in rice, the greenhouse gas emission is 2330 kg carbon dioxide per hectare. Whereas for sorghum and pearl millet, you can see it is around 241 and 285. Compared to rice and the major cereals, it is even wheat also it is 519 and like that. The millets are having less greenhouse gas emission. And if you see from the input requirement, on the other bottom side, you can see the graph with blue color and the other one with the green color. The input requirement, the machinery requirement for millets is less. Then the greenhouse gas emissions are again less. So, in such situations, millets have the potential to use with means to be produced with reduced water, energy consumption, and greenhouse gas emission. Next one. Next one, ma'am. So, when we say millets, millets are collective group of small seeded annual grasses that are grown as grain crops primarily on marginal land in dry areas of temperate, subtropical, and tropical regions. And these millets are grown in 131 countries. And in India, we are growing 9 different kinds of millets like pearl millet, sorghum, finger millet, foxtail millet. You can see the pictures there. Proso millet, brown top millet, little millet, kodo millet, barnyard millet. And there are certain other ancient grains and some other millets which are not grown extensively in our country but are grown in Africa and other countries. And when we talk of millets in our country, we have uh, grouped them into major millets and minor millets. On what basis? On the basis of area. The first three millets, pearl millet, sorghum, finger millet, they occupy 95% of the total millet cultivated area, whereas the other millets, they occupy only 5% area. And we do have a little, very minute area, very less area of cultivation of teff and fonio, but not in a big scale, very, very, very small. Next. Cultivation of millets will help us align ourselves with the sustainable development goals that are meant for nutrition, climate, and resilience. So, millets cultivation fits into sustainable development goals like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 12, 13, 15, and 17. Next. And when I said millets are can fit into extreme climatic conditions also, on the extreme right, you can see a temperature representation where you can see it is shown that 30, 32 for rice we can go up to 35 or 36, where they can grow happily, wheat and rice. Wheat can grow happily up to 30. Beyond that, there'll be reduction in yield. Maize can grow to extent of 40, beyond which no cereals will be able to flower and fertilize and set seed or grain setting. But on the other hand, if you see millets like pearl millet, which can flower at high temperatures as high as 42 degrees centigrade, they can be pollinated and they can be fertilized and they will be able to set seed. That means with the increasing temperature, we should have those crops which will be able to set seed at high temperatures. That means the egg should be fertile, the sperm should be fertile, the pollen grains, the pollens should be fertile. All these things should be able to be fertile and then they should be able to fertilize and then set seed. And on the other hand, I explained in the previous slide that the water requirement for millets is very less and therefore they can be cultivated with very less amount of water. Next please. And if you see the global landscape of millets, India is the major producer of millets, where we produce about 19% of the total world's millet production, followed by USA, then Nigeria, China, Niger, Ethiopia, Brazil, Mexico, so on and so forth. Next one. And among the millets that are grown in India, we produce 100% of the total world's millet production in case of little millet, barnyard millet, and kodo millet. And we contribute 53% of the total world's finger millet, 45% of the total world's pearl millet, sorghum 7%, foxtail millet 2%, and proso millet 1%. Next one, please. And among the millets that are grown in our country, if you see the top diagram shows the area where pearl millet, that is bajra, it occupies about 54.5%, followed by sorghum, that is 34.9%, then ragi 7.3%, and the rest millets, they occupy only 3.3%. And if you look from the production perspective, again, pearl millet or bajra, it occupies 60% of the total millet production in the country, followed by sorghum 27.6%, ragi 10.2%, and small millets 2.1%. And if you look into what are the states that produce these millets, Rajasthan is the major state, followed by Karnataka, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and Haryana. Next, please. And why we are talking about these millets and why these millets are called as nutri-cereals? Because they are rich in the nutrients. If you see proso millet, it is here we have given a comparison of these millets with wheat and rice, because wheat and rice are the most important staple cereals. So if you compare with them, proso millet has 12.5% protein, foxtail has 12.3%. The carbohydrates are there in any grain. If you see, carbohydrates are there, protein is there, fat is there, then fiber will be there, minerals will be there, then major minerals like calcium, iron, zinc, all these will be there. So if you look and have a comparison here, you can see the crude fiber is very high in millets in case of barnyard millet. Then mineral matter is also very high. Calcium is very high in case of finger millet. In pearl millet, you have high amount of phosphorus. Pearl millet is also rich in iron and zinc. So if you see in the bottom figure, in the bottom graph, you can see in finger millet, the calcium is very high. Then the next side, you can see that these nutricereals or the millets are having high amount of protein, fat, and dietary fiber compared to the wheat and rice. You can see yourselves. Next one. So, because of their nutritional superiority, nutritional richness, millets are supposed to be having good health benefits. They are supposed to be good for beneficial in detoxifying the body, lowering the bad cholesterol level, preventing onset of breast cancer, help to prevent type 2 diabetes, effective in reducing blood pressure, helps to protect against heart disease, so on and so forth. In spite of these health benefits, why are we not able to capture millets in our daily diets? Because we are used to eat and consume right from our birth wheat, rice, maize, etc. So, if we give any food prepared through millets, people immediately try to compare with the products that have been prepared from rice or wheat or maize. Then, in that case, how to accept, how to create the acceptance? That means we should be ready to accept the change in taste. That has to be done. Next. There are many references and literature which says that these millets are good for certain problems or diseases. For example, if we are talking of diabetes, we need foods which are rich in fiber, which have low glycemic index and good amount of essential amino acids. So if you see those millets, you have pearl millet, finger millet, foxtail millet. Finger millet has high glycemic index, then kodo millet. For cardiovascular diseases, you can see sorghum is rich in magnesium, pearl millet rich in phytochemicals, finger millet rich in calcium and magnesium. To address the issue of obesity, you can think of consuming barnyard millet or foxtail millet. For cancer, again, you can see foods which are good in resistant starches, then which are rich in lignins and antioxidants like pearl millet, high in antioxidant and fiber like sorghum. And if you talk of celiac disease, you need to have those foods which are free from gluten. In that case, pearl millet, finger millet, and most of the millets, they are gluten free. And if we talk of arthritis, which is due to high inflammation, so we need to have foods which are low in inflammation. So you have millets like pearl millet, sorghum, which would be helpful. Then anemia, because their hemoglobin production is impacted by the levels of iron and zinc in our blood and also calcium. So in such cases, pearl millet being rich in iron and calcium, you can use it for consumption. And then calcium, it is rich more in case of finger millet. Madam, can you move to the next slide? Next one, please. Yeah. So millets are supposed to mitigate hidden hunger because they have high macronutrient content, and the diversity in the millets contributes to mitigation of micronutrient deficiency or hidden hunger. If we talk of millet like finger millet, it's a good source of natural calcium. It is helpful for bone strengthening, reducing risk of bone fractures, good for infants, elderly and pregnant and lactating women. Pearl millet and barnyard millet, they are rich sources of iron and zinc. Madam, can you go to the slideshow?
Ma'am, actually, I've lost my internet connection. Just give me a minute. I'm connecting to the hotspot. Ma'am, could you please confirm that it is visible?
Yeah, it is visible. The slides are moving.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the previous one or this one?
Yeah, this is the one. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorghum, finger millet, and kodo, they are rich in magnesium. Then proso millet is rich in protein, hence it will be useful to address pellagra. B vitamins, they are available in most of these millets. Foxtail, barnyard millet, good source of phosphorus. Then finger millet and foxtail, good source of carotenoid. Next one, please. And many people have tried to validate the health benefits, and a lot many publications are available. Some of those publications I have listed out here. For those students who are really interested in looking into the details, you can get these references. Next one, please. Nowadays, whatever foods we are eating, most of them are processed, and in processing, we are losing fiber. And that is why people say that being millets being rich in dietary fiber, we should consume them. And if you see the amount of fiber available in these millets, you yourself will appreciate that they are good. Okay, next one. And in the country, there are many programs being taken up to address various health issues. So, when we see which are the states that are affected because of the malnutrition, the impact and expression of malnutrition, we have seen that it is either through stunting or wasting or underweight. And if you see in the children, it is observed that most of the stunting cases you can see here in case of Bihar, Meghalaya, UP, Jharkhand, Gujarat, like that. And wasting also in states like Manipur, Gujarat, Bihar, which have been mentioned. And underweight also, most of these states are there. And the frequency is also very significant, at least 1 in every 3 children or 5 children. So, in order to address these issues, you can use these nutritious millets because ragi, I said it is rich in calcium, iron. Pearl millet or bajra, rich in iron, fiber, zinc, magnesium. Then sorghum, again rich in antioxidants. Foxtail, good source of fibers, low glycemic index. Proso millet, good source of protein, fiber like. So each of the millet is good in its own way and has unique properties. So consuming millets, not only one millet, if you eat millets in different days, different types of millets, that will help you balance your health. Next one, please. Looking into these good properties of millets, nutritional superiority, and also the climate resilience, which can be fit into and adapted into the changing climate conditions. The government has them millets as Shri Anna because they are a medium for holistic development in the country. They are a medium to link villages and the poor. They are a medium, a door to prosperity for small farmers of the country. They are helpful in felicitating the tribal communities. They aid or provide a huge help in fighting climate change, and they also provide a big foundation for chemical free farming. Next one. Looking into these properties and goodness of millets and the kind of work that has been taken up at our Indian Institute of Millet Research during 2023, our institute has been elevated to the status of Global Center of Excellence on Millets, that is Shri Anna, by our Honorable Prime Minister on 18th March 2023, and it has been dedicated to the nation. The purpose is to share the best practices of crop improvement, crop production, protection, processing, value addition, entrepreneurship development, stakeholder engagement for enhancing production and productivity, scaling up the millet value chain in the South-South cooperation, mainstream the millets, and extension and outreach of these. Next one, please. So, under the Global Center of Excellence, we have 7 different verticals where we try to address the issue of germplasm, medium term storage facility we are creating, then Global Technology Innovation Center for trade, seed, and crop improvement, Nutri-Cereal Analytical Food Safety Quality Assurance, then Global Center of Excellence for Millet Value Chain, establishment of International Knowledge Skill Development and Capacity Center, then a facility, global facility for millet pilots on feed, fodder, food, and all these things, and regional millet technology innovation and outreach hubs. So we are doing a lot of work on under these 7 verticals, and a number of activities are being taken. Next one. So we have a number of germplasm accessions under different millets. Nearly around 48 to 49,000 accessions are there in our gene bank. Next. We do evaluate them and identify good material genetic stocks, and we register them for crop, and later on they'll be used for crop improvement. Next, please. One of our landmark thing in millets is we are the first country to release biofortified pearl millet, and we are the first one to set benchmark levels for releasing pearl millet cultivars, and we have included iron and zinc as part of the promotion criteria. And till date, 48 plus biofortified hybrids and varieties have been released through Ecripon pearl millet. And these biofortified material are integrated into PDS and school feeding in different states. You can see that 2 pearl millet spikes are shown here. We have material which is released with iron level as high as 83 ppm or as high as 77 ppm and zinc 39 ppm. We have set a benchmark. Any material, any pearl millet will not be promoted or released if it does not have a minimum of 42 ppm of iron, grain iron, and 32 ppm of grain zinc. So, from 2018 onwards, all the material that is coming through Ecripon pearl millet are in one way biofortified. Next. Not only in pearl millet, we also have in small millets, where some of these small millets are very rich in different nutrients. In case of finger millet, the variety Indravati, it is having calcium to an extent of 4280 ppm, iron 58 ppm, zinc 44 ppm. Then another variety is CFMB2, that is Gira. You can see 4740 ppm of calcium. We have one variety of little millet where the protein is 14.4% and iron is 58 ppm. So, when we are bringing such biofortified varieties, They are being produced and they are incorporated in the midday meals for school children so that the children who consume those foods will be provided with balanced essential nutrients. Next one. How we go for improvement of our varieties? Since this is a very varied group, I don't want to go into the botany of these crops. And because these crops are grown in different agroecologies, for each crop we have developed different product profiles that would be suitable for those different agroecologies. So we have a number of product profiles developed for different zones for different crops. You can see the numbers. Next. Next, madam. These millets, they are different. Some of them are self-pollinated, some of them are cross-pollinated, some of them are highly cross-pollinated. So in highly cross-pollinated and cross-pollinated crops, we have hybrids also in place. And in other cases, we have only varieties. In the past 5 years, nearly 140 varieties and hybrids of different crops have been released. You can see the numbers. Next. Next, please. You're going back, madam. So, since we are recommending and telling that these millets are short duration crops and they can be fit into cropping system, we are also coming up with short duration materials so that they can also be taken up as contingency crops. Contingency crops come to hand. They are handy when you have these drought occurrences or sudden uh, rain deficit, monsoon deficit times. In such dry spells, you get dry spells and there is no water to continue the crop. The farmers they plow and go for a contingent crop. Since millets are having shorter durations, you can see proso millet it matures in 70 days, pearl millet in 75 days, barnyard millet in 85 to 90 days, foxtail millet in 70 to 85 days, like that. So there is a scope for the farmer. Instead of losing entire thing, if he can take a short duration crop, it will be a contingent crop and he'll be securing food and fodder security for himself and the cattle. Next one. We're also developing high throughput genotyping protocols. Next one. We're also coming up with high throughput phenotyping. Next one, please. Yeah. At the Global Center of Excellence, we are creating all these facilities. Next one. So, till now, I just spoke about the food and nutritional security. I was asked to speak about the entrepreneurship development also. Until now, we have seen how millets are produced, what are the areas or the countries where millets are grown, all these things have been discussed. But the major problem in millets is the processing. Unlike rice and wheat, since these are smaller in size and they are covered by a number of outer coverings or layers, to consume them, we need to remove those outer unedible layers. So, for that, the primitive way is pounding and then removing the chaff, but you cannot do in a larger scale. So, for that, we need some machinery or equipment which will help ease the process and reduce the time taken and also save the labor. So, in the country, if you see rice, wheat, you have mills, rice mill is there, and then these uh, places are there where wheat flour is made and all these things, atta chakki and all these places. But for millets, we do not have. So we need to standardize. the existing machinery for millets and then use them for primary processing and secondary processing and like that. So we have a number of machinery that has been developed and standardized. Next one, please. If you see the effect of processing, when we talk to the food technologists, their processing is like fermentation, germination, parboiling, roasting. And there are advantages and disadvantages of these processes. You can see that if you ferment, the protein is increased, vitamins are increased, availability of calcium, iron, all these increased. Germination also these happen. So different processes have different advantages and disadvantages. Next one. So what we have done is we have a number of varieties. So we try to profile the nutritional profile we have done. And then we try to identify those cultivars that are suitable for flaking or baking or puffing, and then identify those suitable cultivars which are good for roti making or parboiling. Then diversifying the technologies, developing a range of technologies. Since we say millets are gluten free, if we have to bake the products or prepare the roti, all these things, because of absence of gluten we have issues. So we address the issue of how to tackle the absence of gluten through gelatinization of starch and manipulation, then developing composite foods, plant protein, etc. from different kinds of millets. Next one. So we have used technologies like puffing, flaking, baking, extrusion, fortification, development of instant mixes, and coming up with recipes. We are saying that millets are good, but if you do not know how to prepare good food from them, people will not be able to accept it. So we have come up with recipes also. We have our own product brands. Please, next, please. And under the name Eat Right, we have our own brand. Next one. So we have come up with a number of recipes like contemporary recipes, traditional recipes, international recipes like that, which can fit into different kinds of dishes and items. Like you can have breakfast items, main course items, snacks, sweets, desserts, like that. Next one. There is an issue of shelf life of millets. The grain can be stored for 1 year, no problem. But the problem comes once you remove the outer cover, because it is going to damage the grain, because the outer coat is ruptured. Then some of the enzymes get activated and they start acting on the flour, and that is how you have the issues. Next one. If you look into the India's millet landscape, the market scenario, we have exported $70.89 million in 2024. That is to the tune of 146,000 metric tons. Next one. And also the minimum support price for these millets has been increasing from 2013, if you look on, till 2023, then 24, 25, the minimum support price at which millets can be procured has been increasing to support the farmers. Now, since we are talking of the entrepreneur options in millets, why will people take up any entrepreneurship in millets? Unless and until there is a market, people will not come forward. Here you can see that there is a table which clearly shows that export opportunities the projections of export are very high in case of millets in different regions of the world. Asia Pacific market, you can see how it is going to increase. Middle East and Africa markets, European markets, North American markets, South and Central American region markets. You can see in all these areas in different markets, there is a significant increase. The predictions are very high. Predictions are there that the export requirement in these global markets is very high. Next one. So, if we want to really grab this opportunity, cultivating millets, value addition to these millets, and then exporting or putting them in our own domestic market will be helpful. So, when we say millets should be grown, we say that by growing millets, you are going to reduce 70% water use, and biofortified products will be available. It will be going to increase farmers' income and decrease in food waste. Next one. You can skip it. Next one. So, if you look into the emerging business opportunities in millet value chain, there are a number of options that can be explored. Next one. I said that for millet processing, we have a number of things. When you get the millet grains from farm, they should be cleaned, destoned, graded, and then they have to be taken forward. In major millets, it's only the milling, whereas in minor millets, the dehulling has to be done and milling has to be done. Next, please. So, dehulling means first we need to clean the grain and then we need to remove the outer indigestible husk layer from the grain. So, by dehulling, it will improve the overall digestibility. You can see the different millet grains. We have whole grain, dehulled grain. In case of proso millet, it is next is little millet. Next one. From the after you dehull, from the endosperm, you can make different kinds of products. You can make rava that is used for khichdi, or you can make rava that is for upma or for idli making or the flour. It all depends on the particle size. The smaller the particle size, the finer will be your atta is very fine, then idli rava, then upma rava and khichdi rava. Next one. So you can explore which one you want to go for and which one you want to install. So what are the primary processing machineries? You have to have a cleaning cum grader, dehusker. So we have different hullers, single stage dehuller, double stage dehuller. Next. We have continuous, those are small equipment in the previous slide, all in one. So you have the dehusker, you have the grader, you have the cleaner, all in one equipment. Next one. So these are milling lines. Here you can see we have different options. One for flour making, one for rava making, one for fine rava, one for coarse rava, all this. Next. We have secondary processing like baking. We have biscuit processing, biscuit unit. We have extrusion unit. We have flaking unit. We have chicky or Nutribar making line. You have hot extrusion line or semolina line. Next one. So if you are really interested in taking any of those, you need to understand that first you need good quality seed. And we have a number of FPOs which are attached with us and they take up good quality seed production through natural farming or many things are there. So whoever is interested, they can approach these FPOs and ensure good quality raw material. So the good quality raw material is very important. Next one. So if you are trying to establish a processing line or something which has the capacity of processing 10 tons per day, then you need to look into from where you are going to get that material. You will not be able to get 10 tons from a single farmer. So you need to pool and aggregate. And then that you can do through FPOs or some other chains so that you can come up with. Next one. Then warehousing services, you cannot bring them every day. You need to bring them. You need to put them in some storage space that is your warehouse. Again, you can get the support from FPOs and others. Next one. Next one. Yeah. Then you need to have, if you want to reduce the cost in cleaning and grading and all those things, it is better you get some farm gate processing. So the farmers also will be able to get good price. So here, if it is not processed, means processing in the means primary processing, cleaning, grading, and all those, farmers will not get good price. If they are doing, we could see that they are able to get 5 to 10 times increased price. Next one. Machinery fabrication. I said that there is a need for fabrication or standardizing the available equipment. So if anyone wants to become an entrepreneur, they can also choose this line of machinery fabrication. Next. Or people can come up with models like they can come up with ready to eat food products or ready to cook products. You can say that ready made upma rava or multimillet rava, suji, all these things. Next. Then ready to cook foods, maybe dosa mix, idli mix, pasta, everything. Means we have a number of options. 9 different millets, 9 different kinds, then different products. Sky is the limit. With what combination you want to do, how to do all this. Next. Nowadays, millet milk is coming, millet beverages are coming. You have ice creams also, millet coffee, millet chai. All these things are there. Many of the companies, we have success stories also. Next, you have option for infant foods, because now when we say they are good foods, naturally we would like to give good food to our children. It will start from infants. So you have baby foods, infant foods. Next, you can also have millets as an option in the meals. You have nowadays, you are having these combo types. You can put different kinds of millet products, millet dishes. Next, millets can be used for making functional foods. I said proso millet, it is rich in protein, so protein can be isolated. Plant-based proteins can be made. So there are n number of opportunities in these millets. Next, and nowadays people are trying to produce lab grown meat also. In such conditions, we can also incorporate our plant based proteins. Now people are coming, they are saying vegans, only vegetarian. So many categories are there. So we can have millets for different categories, different options. Next. I mentioned about nutraceuticals also. Next. Analog foods. There is an option for analog foods. If you ask any rice eater, you stop eating rice and take only millets, will that person be happy? No. Because those who are used to consume rice, they will not get satiety unless you give them rice. But if you want to have the goodness of these millets, there is an opportunity where you can extrude that and bring it in the form of rice. So we have analog rices, you can have analog meat, analog milk, which is prepared with millet. So a number of options are again available in analog foods. Next, other purposes, non-food uses, you have options of preparing beers and other things from millets. Different kinds of millets, different kinds of beers. Next, not only drinks and other purposes, non-food uses, millets can be used for biofuel. We have sweet sorghum that is used for bioethanol production. You can also go for isolation and starch production. You can also have animal feeds for developing different kinds of animal feeds. You can take green fodder or dry fodder or grain and give it in the form of feed or chunks or anything can be done. Next. So there is a big demand in the terms of captive and mass markets because you have many ongoing ICDS programs, women and child development programs, midday meal programs, government feeding programs, and then restaurant chains. You can see a number of restaurant chains including millets in their menus. Chef communities are also coming forward with many millet options. Now, if you talk to any nutritionist or a dietitian, they come up with millet versions. Next. Because of those captive and mass markets, there is a demand created, not only in the country, across the globe. And how we can enhance is we can give training through different farming methods, product development or value addition, recipe development that can be done through physical training or online training or webinars or social media, like that. Next. And there is a option of incubating new startups, because if you want to have your own startup, you need to understand what are the nitty gritties, how, from where you have to get the material, how to do, and all these things. So if we have incubation centers that will support and help give hand in hand guidance for the new entrepreneurs. Next one. So we have a technology business incubator where they give training and handhold and provide incubation for the millet startups. Till date, we have startups associated with our technology business incubator to the tune of 480 plus. Our technology business incubator helps in ideation, incubation, and acceleration. We also help in R&D, production is there, business wing is also there. Next one. So if you see the core activities of our technology business incubator, they give technology consultancy, they help in business facilitation, they mentor and network, they help in infrastructure facility, they also provide you guidance in access to funding, and they also help in capacity building and awareness programs. Next, please. They also help in guiding the young entrepreneurs and startups for getting funds whether through Nest or Ngrain or N-Step like this. Next. And recently, our organization, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, has come up with the ABI network where our institute has been identified, our technology business incubator has been identified to guide furthermore agribusiness incubators in different institutes. Next. And we have a number of training programs that our NutriHub being taken up. We have cooking with millets once in a month for one day. We have startup ignition programs where once in 1 month for one day. We have entrepreneurship development programs where you have 4 days training in 2 months, once in 2 months. Next. So they will help. And also we have for the startups who are incubating with us to use the facilities on payment, primary processing, secondary processing, milling line, flaking line, packaging, extrusion, all these things. Next. We have a number of value added products available for commercialization. Many of the startups or entrepreneurs or companies, they come and take our value added products on payment basis, commercialized, and then they take up and scale up the production. Next. And our NutriHub is really known. You can see number of startups being supported, incubated, amount of fund being facilitated. So many things are there. Next. We have success stories also. We have Millet Marvels, you can see in the airport, and the stores are there. True Good is there. Many success stories. Next. We have the female entrepreneurs also. Ancient Foods is there. Millet Amma is there. Next. Eat Millet. Then Millet Mantra. So many brands are there. All these are existing in the market and doing roaring business. Next. So this ends my presentation. So eat millets and stay healthy, and thanks for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We express our deep sense of gratitude to our esteemed guest, Dr. C. Tara Satyavati, ma'am, for delivering an exceptionally insightful and knowledge-enriching lecture on internship opportunities in millets and the food nutritional security. Madam, experience and insights regarding the millets and its importance have greatly enlightened all the participants. Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful session. We will move into the query and interaction session. Instructions to all the participants. Those who have questions are kindly requested to post their questions in the chat box. We will discuss about the queries. Ma'am, we have a question from Ashutosh. How do we make people aware of about the eating the millets?
Like awareness programs, then exhibitions, then cookery shows or cooking competition, display of the products, tasting of the products, teaching them how to cook. Number of recipes are being developed. Previously, you don't find millets in market, but now you see millets everywhere. So, with the increasing awareness and people understanding the importance and value of these millets, that being accepted and that being taken up. Even such trainings also provide a platform. I see about 2,200 people online. So is it not an awareness program in one go? Like that, awareness programs, training programs, displays, exhibitions, they help in enhancing the awareness and visibility.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Praveen Kumar. In the malnutrition slide in children, Karnataka finds a place in all three major problems, though it grows all three millets. While Rajasthan doesn't feature any of these problems, how do you see this? And is there any superfood identified?
See, the data is coming from some report. The sampling may be different. I do not know whether they have sampled, equal sample has been taken from Karnataka and Rajasthan. We do not know. But whatever the data says, it is not that people are not improving. There is scope. And if you see millet consumption, especially finger millet consumption and growing production is high in Karnataka. And in Rajasthan, pearl millet is very highly. It is the area is high and production is also high in Rajasthan. Means if you see the total content. So everywhere you will find different people, different kinds of categories, different issues. So I cannot give a outright statement that this is high, this is low. Whatever data showed is from some reports.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Praveen Kumar. The last generation farming community blamed that the hybrids have degraded the quality of our food. To a larger extent, it is an use of chemicals, basically a fertilizers application that has reduced the food quality. Ma'am, what exactly is the problem?
See, the question has 2-3 different components. One is fertilizer use, one is hybrid, one is variety. In the crop improvement process, we try to come up with varieties that can produce high yield. Because for farmers, he has to get some money, and producing more food per unit area is always a goal. And then you are talking of fertilizers. Certain varieties are responsive to fertilizers, some are not. In general, people do say because of the heavy use of fertilizers, the quality of the food we are getting now is deteriorating. But that statement has to be shown and verified and validated through experiments. I cannot give an outright statement that because of fertilizer use, the quality of the food has been deteriorating. There are reports. If someone is interested, they can check.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
hybrids. Why we go for hybrids is the per unit productivity is more in case of hybrids compared to varieties. In general, around 25 to 30% of yield superiority is observed in hybrids compared to varieties. We cannot say that because now AI is coming, it is devastating everything. It is advancement in the technology. So people should not go for computers or adopt AI. We cannot say that. It's only how effectively, how judiciously you use, and where it has to be used and how it has to be used. That's all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Dhruvin Bikad. He is from Gujarat. What is the minimum cost for the machinery and any government subsidies on this?
See, this is a very general question and has many wide options. So if someone is interested to know what is the cost, you need to be specific in the question, and you can come to our institute or approach our institute, put a mail, drop a mail, we'll respond back. And different state governments have different procedures and different programs to support and give rebate or discount or funding. There are many different options. And some of the options I have shown you, Engrain, Nest, all these things, so RKVY. If you are interested, you can explore.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Sanjana. How millets help for the diabetic patients and which millets will be mostly preferred?
See, during my presentation, I think in one of the slides I said that these millets are low glycemic. How millets help in diabetic patients is if you consume rice or wheat, once the food enters our stomach, it is digested, and during the process of digestion, the glucose is released into the bloodstream. The time taken from the time you consume the food and the glucose release is, and the quantity of glucose released, it helps in glycemic, that calculation of the glycemic index. Rice, wheat, they have high glycemic indexes, whereas millets, they have comparatively low glycemic index. Why we say low glycemic index is from the time you consume the millet and the time the glucose is released, the time taken is more. Why? Because there is lot of fiber in the millet and lot of resistant starch that will take more time to digest. So for the glucose diabetic patients, you need to have food which is low in glycemic index. That means the glucose release has to be slow, because if you consume the food which is high in fibers and having more resistant starches, it takes more time to digest. That means the glucose rush in the blood is slow. That is why millets are helpful for diabetic people. And among the millets also, the glycemic index varies. Foxtail has low glycemic index, followed by barnyard millet. And ragi, among the millets, ragi is having a little bit of high glycemic index, like that.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Abhishek Verma and how to start the millet products business from the home.
Come to our institute, enroll yourselves into the training program, then you will understand how to go, what to do. Just now I have shown you that we have once a month cooking with millets, once in a month startup ignition program, once in 2 months our entrepreneur foundation development foundation program. So you can enroll yourselves into any of these and then understand the things.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have a question from Manoj. He's from US, Bangalore. Ma'am, can you please explain the process of making the milk from millet?
This is not a theoretical or practical class that you can see. Those things will be shown in person, in practice. I mean, in the practical thing. But the main principle is you will grind and then filter and do the things. Just like how you take up soybean milk, similarly here also you will try to extract the milk.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Praveen Kumar. Man is what he eats is one of the beliefs. I feel that along with the taste, it's a process of cooking that makes the food nutritious. Is there any daily diet plan suggested to follow for a common man?
Exactly, man is what he eats. That is why we want to improve our eating habits. And that is why we say that include millets in your diet, eat millets and stay healthy. According to the recommendation of National Institute of Nutrition, we should include millets 1/3 of your total intake of carbohydrates. So if you are taking 300 grams of cereal every day, see that 100 grams is millet, like that. The general recommendation is 270 grams, so 90 grams should be millet. So that 90 grams you can take either 30, 30, 30 or 90 at one time. That means you may have millet breakfast or you may have millet main course in lunch or dinner, any of these. And I don't say that eating millet murkus will help. You need to take these millets in the staple food type. You take either millet rice or millet roti or other things. We are coming up with a number of products and range of items, because if I say to a 5-year-old boy that you eat only millet rice, he will not understand. But he'll be attracted to kurkure, which is made from maize flour. But if I replace maize flour with sorghum flour, at least some nutrients will be going into him. So we need to identify and come up with those products. Now, the private players have understood the importance of millets. The food industry has very well understood it, and they are coming up with a number of items suitable for a number of types of menus.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Vishal Thakur. Although millets have a low glycemic index and high nutrient content, antioxidants than the wheat and rice, but also have some disadvantages like foxtail and proso millets are heavy to digest and anti-nutrient that hinder with the protein digestion, and the kodo and little millets cause the bloating, and finger millets have a high oxalate content which will leads to the kidney stone. So farmers consider this as an occasional food, not as a staple food. What is your opinion on this?
See, every food has its own benefits and disadvantages. It is on us how we use those foods for our better health or good health or balance. Now, just now I mentioned, as per the National Institute for Nutrition, NIN, they have recommended that 1/3 of your daily diet, whatever you take, in the for carbohydrates, you should have millets. That's it. We're not telling you to totally replace. And also, since in one of the slides I showed that different millets have different good nutrients, it is better you take different millets at different times instead of taking only one millet every day. And also in different forms. You may take in the form of millet rice or millet roti or millet khichdi or millet idli, millet dosa, like that. In different millets in different forms. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we are having some more questions, ma'am. With your permission, can we proceed, ma'am?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Asta Miravi, college, from the College of Agriculture, Balaghat. So, question is, ma'am, what is the difference between the millets and the minor millets, and which one is more helpful for the health?
Just now I said that different millets have different unique nutritional properties, USPs for each millet. If you take pearl millet, it is high in iron, calcium, iron, zinc. Then it has good amount of lipid profile, good fatty acids, omega-3 fatty acids, unsaturated, polyunsaturated fatty acids. If you take finger millet, it is good in calcium. So, depending on your requirement, you need to decide which millet is good for you. There is no blanket recommendation.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have a question from Harsh Pancheshwar. Why farmers are less cultivating the millets crops in our field, and how to convince the farmers to cultivate the millets, and what form should we consume millets so that they increase the nutritional value of our body?
Again, many questions in one question. Now, if you are a farmer, what will you look at? Whatever you are producing, you will try to see that you get good price, good money for whatever hard work and efforts you have put in. And if you're not getting good price, you will not take it again. In our country right now, for wheat and rice, you have established market system and procurement system. They're being purchased at MSP and government procures those grains. But in millets, now of late, the minimum support price is being increased, and though the minimum support price has been declared, not all the states are procuring them at those declared minimum support price. If the farmer has a assured market, then he will take up the production. If the farmer is not able to sell his produce, why should he waste his efforts and energy and time? That's the main reason. So that is why, to encourage farmers and to keep them motivated to cultivate millets, we need to create a market. This is one side of the coin. On the other side, because of the nutritional superiority of these millets and the climate resilience of these millets, we should grow millets looking into the climate change and our nutritional requirements. So, if we have to get the goodness of nutrition and the resilience of the climate resilience for the changing climate, we should cultivate millets. Then who will cultivate? You and I will not cultivate. The farmer has to cultivate. Then we should have some policies which will support the procurement from the farmer immediately after he is ready with the produce. Just declaration will not suffice. Implementation of procurement at minimum support price or providing market access, these things will help the farmers and keep him motivated to cultivate millets, right?
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Maruti. To become an incubator, how to get the technology and how to register a company?
See, we have our website. You can visit the website, and then you have the website for NutriHub also. You just browse and you can put your query and you will be directed. So we have our website, that is www.millets.res.in. On that, we also have a link for NutriHub. So you can click on that and then get in touch with our technology business incubator.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have a question from Sandeep Yadav. What innovations in the millet-based food products can help to attract the younger generations?
Innovations, there are many. You can have baked foods. You have we can have pizza bases. We can have millet ice creams. Many options are there. Sky is the limit. You have 9 different millets. You can have different combinations, different proportions. Need to use your brain, understand the local needs or the market where you want to launch your product. That's it. If I ask the youngsters, you eat only roti, will they? If you have an option of choosing between pizza and roti, what will you choose? So if you have a millet version, a pizza in millet version, Definitely you would prefer it because you are attracted to that. So you need to understand the psyche of the market and the target group.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, next we have a question from Rama Subramani. While processing and making as a snacks, is there any technology to maintain the nutritive value of the millet?
See, while coming up with the value addition, maximum effort, we try to see that there is less loss of nutrients. But I showed one slide again, there are different kinds of processing, germination, roasting, fermentation, and all these things. Whatever food products we make, whatever products we make from millets, they will be combination of these 4 or 5 processes. So depending on the type of the product and depending on the quality you want to produce, you need to choose a combination of these. So that is where the crux is.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we have a last question for this session, ma'am. The question is from Janavi Marol. What is the export value for the millet and how can we go for the export of millet products?
I showed one slide where there I showed the market potential, export potential. So if we have any product from our country, if you want to make any exports, you need to get permissions and approvals from APIDA, and there are many processes. Our technology business incubator, our people, they will guide you if you have some product to export. So you can contact us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request Chatrisha to share her words on today's session.
Thank you very much, Rohit. Thank you very much, ma'am, for such an insightful session on entrepreneurship opportunities in millets and food for nutritional security. Despite there were many technical challenges that we have faced during the session, you have handled it everything with a great patience and you have made the session more insightful and more informative, ma'am. We are very
Sorry,
much grateful.
1 second. I saw just one question in the chat box. Someone is asking, is there any job opportunity for MSc Agriculture students, either on contract based or permanent based on millets department? For that, people should try to keep on visiting our website because we'll be advertising many positions, temporary positions based on the projects and our requirement. And one more thing I wanted to tell you is recently we have come up with very innovative idea of giving training to the students. We cannot be giving training free to everyone. That would be on some payment mode, and that will be based on the recommendation from the respective universities. So for that also, you people can visit our website and write to us. So if any young student entrepreneurs want to come forward and learn things, we are giving them opportunity. So thanks for this. Please continue, Chatrisha.
Thank you, ma'am. It was definitely an insightful and informative session for all of us. The experience that you have shared and the knowledge you have shared is really very much inspiring, and every individual can definitely think about it and start a new business regarding this. And we truly appreciate your valuable time and the knowledge that you have shared with us today. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Now we'll be moving for the official vote of thanks. I request Rohit to kindly continue with the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chitrisha. On behalf of AgriSarthi team, I would like to express my deep respect and gratitude to Dr. C. Tara Satyavati ma'am. Ma'am, your valuable thoughts on food nutrition, impact of climate change on agriculture, millet production of India, and the health benefits of the millets, these are very much informative. And we are deeply thankful for the time, knowledge, and encouragement you have shared with us today, ma'am. Once again, thank you, ma'am, for your highly informative and the impactful session. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. O.P. Chaudhary, Sir, President of AgriSarthi, for continuous encouragement, valuable guidance, and leadership. My sincere thanks also to our Organizing Director Ajay Kasana Sir, Chief Secretary of Agri Sarathi for his support, planning and guidance which ensured the smooth and successful conduct of today's program. I take this opportunity to thank all the participants for their enthusiastic participation, active engagement and thoughtful interactions, which truly made the session lively, meaningful and successful. I also place on a record of my appreciation to the entire AgriSarthi team for their dedicated efforts in organizing this 30-day National Agriculture Training Program and for consistently providing a valuable platform for learning, capacity building, and professional development. Before we conclude, I kindly request all participants to ensure that attendance form which has been shared in the chat box is must be filled on compulsory basis. Please note that submission of the form is mandatory and the link will be remain active only for 30 minutes. Once again, thank you all for your valuable time and participation. We look forward your continued association and active participation in forthcoming sessions of AgriSarathi Kranti 2026. Wishing you all a pleasant and productive day ahead. Jai Hind.